Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, good evening. Okay, let me just check who all are there. Akshat, Anne, Sibya, Flora. Okay, so you are ready for the class? Can we start? Okay, how's climate over there now? Is it raining or is it very sunny? What is it climate now? Rainy, too rainy. Okay, yesterday was a holiday for you people, right? Yes. Okay. Or the today was the only working day. Tomorrow again holiday. Sunday holiday. Yeah. Then Monday also holiday. Very, very long weekend, isn't it? Have you planned something or are you going to sit and study? Tomorrow is a working day. Okay. So, yes, yes, I missed it. Okay. Tomorrow is a working day. But again, Monday is a holiday, right? Okay. So, any other plans? Okay, your exam is over by today. Okay, how was the exam, dear? Bhavya, how was the exam? Okay, fine. Okay, so till where your portions has been reached, that means in physics, which is a chapter which is currently going on. Friction is going on. Okay. Okay, your exam starts on October 6th, started sound. Okay. Okay. So most of means in most of your school, the chapter is almost done. Or otherwise, it is parallelly going on, right? So this chapter is actually we can say that is a follow-up or it's a continuation chapter from the last one. The last chapter which we studied was, we were studying about force and pressure, isn't it? We discussed force and pressure and we came to know the basic concept of force. Along with that, we have learned contact and non-contact forces, isn't it? We learned contact and non-contact forces. So, okay, in that specifically, we have learned what is friction, correct? Now, can anybody give me a definition or explanation for friction? Anyone? Should I mute? If anyone wants to answer in by the audio, you can raise the hand so that I can unmute it. Okay, somebody has raised the hand. Let me see. Okay, Bhavya. Bhavya, you can speak.
Yes, ma'am. The
What is
force which opposes the relative motion between two surfaces which are in contact.
Yeah, that is actually known as friction. Thank you, Bhavya. Your answer was right. Now, same way. Okay, so we will discuss the what is about means we have already discussed what is friction is. Now we will discuss about the factors which are affecting friction as well as one second. Okay, as well as we will discuss a different topic which is we are going to discuss about fluid friction also, not a different topic, it's a continuation only. So first we will discuss the definition for friction, then the factors affecting friction, then we will move to fluids. Okay, now yeah, many of you have replied me in chat. Roshan, okay, Roshan, I got your answer. The rubbing off to uneven surface. It's not necessary that the surfaces need to be uneven. Then Udhiba, I got your answer. Anna, okay, correct. Okay, so let's start the class. We are going to discuss friction today. So whenever the floor is wet, or else you might have seen when there is a banana peel on the floor, when you step into it, you suddenly fall down, isn't it? Or you have to be very cautious when you step in such a surface. Why? Would anyone answer? I can unmute as well as, okay, less friction on its surface. Good. Then friction is less. Okay, fine. Okay, it is because the friction is very less over there. So, as friction as a negative one means does it has any advantage or only it has only disadvantage? Friction has both advantages as well as disadvantages on the circumstances in which we actually use it. So as you said to me, friction is the opposition offered to the relative motion between two surfaces. Again, it is a contact force, isn't it? We learned that it is a contact force. So whenever there is a wet floor as well as whenever there is a banana peel on the floor, we slip down because the friction force is very less over there. Okay, so these two are actually the ones which reduces the friction. Now the another point which we already know is frictional force is always in a direction opposite to the relative motion. As shown in this figure, motion is being shown in this direction, right? Means if a boy is trying to push, I have shown you the same image earlier also. So when the boy is trying to push the block, what is happening? The frictional force is actually acting in the opposite direction, right? So in order to move a body from a state of rest to motion, we have to apply a force, and this applied force should be more than the frictional force present there. You might have noticed whenever there is an object such as if there is an we can I don't have an object, right? If there is a object such like this, and it is in contact with some surface, so if I'm just pulling it down, means if I'm just applying a very mild force over here, it is not going to move. Why? Because this one and this one are in contact, and these both surfaces has a frictional force. Okay, so the force which I'm applying should be able to overcome the frictional force which is present there. Then only what will happen? Then only the body or the object will move. Otherwise, it will not. Okay. So the amount of friction offered by a surface will actually be determined by what? Will actually be determined by what? The nature of the surface. Okay. Now the figure shows a spring balance. This is just a revamping. I have already told you in the last class that spring balance is used to measure dash. Is it mass or weight? Could you please give me the answer in the chat? Spring balance is used to measure mass or weight. It is used to measure mass. Okay. Everyone is saying that it is used to measure mass. Are you sure? Then what about common balance? Then what about common balance? I want everyone's answer. Could everyone please reply in the chat box? Okay. Okay, let me ask a few people. That would also be better. I will allow someone to talk. What is that? I will take someone who has not replied here. Okay, fine. Gauri, can you hear me, Gauri? I have given you the permission.
Hello, can
Yeah,
you hear me?
yes, I can. Could you please say for what the spring balance is used? Is it used to measure the mass or the weight?
It's used for measuring the force acting on an object.
Okay, force acting on an object means it is the dash.
Mass.
Mass. Okay, fine. Abel, could you say the spring balance is used to measure? I will say, because there is a confusion, hence I'm asking everyone. Abel, can you hear me? Abel is not unmute. Yeah, Abel.
Sorry, ma'am. I didn't hear. My net is here is weak. Widely
Okay,
heard.
okay, I will repeat the question for you. Spring balance is used to measure dash, mass or weight.
Mass.
Okay, fine. Let me ask one more person, then I will come to. Okay, Akshat, you gave me two answers. Now let me know which is the quantity which is measured by a spring balance, mass or weight?
Ma'am, wait.
Weight. Okay, fine. Okay, And the answer is actually weight. The answer which was said by Gauri is correct only. It is used to, spring balance is used to measure the force acting on a body. The force acting on a body is actually known as weight, not the mass. Mass is the quantity which means it is the amount of matter contained in it. Contained in it. That means it is not going to change. It is going to be a constant everywhere. But when it comes to the weight, it will differ. That means you can imagine in this way also, when a spring balance is hanged up, isn't it, the acceleration due to gravity is acting on it, and it is acting downwards. So weight can change. The mass, the weight measured by spring balance can also change from one point to the another because of the difference in the acceleration due to gravity. Okay, so always remember, spring balance is used to measure weight, whereas mass is measured using the common balance or the beam balance. Clear? Okay, is there any doubt till here? No, spring balance is used to measure the weight. Now, next, let's move on. That's fine. If it is clear, then that's fine. Your answers went wrong. That doesn't matter at all because that's how we learn. Okay, if you are asking me suddenly also, I might get confused. So that's quite okay. We will move on. We will learn certain things. We will learn together. Okay. Now let's move on. Now, what are the factors that affecting the friction? You said that when we step into the banana peel or the wet flow, the frictional force is less over there, isn't it? Why? Because the surface provides a lesser amount of friction. Even though we are seeing an object being placed, yeah, correct. That is, friction is dependent on the nature of the surface in contact, as well as the mass. Means if it is very easy to move a very small stone, and very difficult to move a very heavy stone because of the mass, because of the difference in mass. But as well as factors affecting the friction, again, it is more, means the main concept is that the surface on which it is been in contact. Okay, sometimes a table will feel very smooth for you people, means when we see from a macroscopic level, but when we observe it very closely in a microscopic level only, we will came to know that there are a lot of irregularities in it. Okay, there are a lot of irregularities in it. So when this object comes in contact with the surface, it gets interlocked between the irregularities, and then it is difficult for the body to move from one point to the another. So how much the surface is smooth, that much it is easy for the object to move from one place to the another. Clear this much? I hope this much is clear. So this is a diagram shown over here. That is there are two blocks over here, as well as yeah. So these are the irregularities. See, this is a surface shown. This is surface of the table. When we look outside, when we look at a macroscopic level, all the surface seems to be very smooth. But in under if we observe under a microscope, there are a lot of irregularities. So if the object is in contact with these irregularities and it is actually stuck there, so it is not able to move from one point to the another. That's why the which one, the surfaces experiences friction. As well as when you see such a smooth surface which is very smooth and which is slightly slanting also, it will be very easy to move from one point to the another. Why? Because the surface is smooth as well as it is in a slanting position, which is a favorable condition for the smooth motion. Okay, now there are two types of friction, which is static friction and sliding friction. You can just examine in this way. I just have one equipment over here, hence I'm showing like this. See, this is something which I'm keeping on my hand. Okay, so now the body is at rest. Do you agree? Now this is at the state of rest. Now if I want to actually change the state of this body, I need to apply the force. I already told you that. Now I'm applying a force, isn't it? At this moment there is a friction present there. That means the body is static there, the body is stationary there, the body is not moving. So at the time a friction is present over there, and that friction is actually known as static friction. This is the greatest friction. That means we have at this means in this slide we will be discussing two types of friction, which is static and sliding. In that, static friction will be in a greater value. That means when a body is at rest, it is difficult for one person to change the state of motion from rest to motion, because we have to overcome the static friction. So when we apply a force, it's not moving. That means I'm not applying a force which is more than the static friction. Now if I'm applying it, it starts moving, isn't it? isn't it? It starts moving, which means that what happens? When I apply the force, the static friction has been overcome. So when a body is at rest, when a body is at stationary, when it is at the stationary state, there is a frictional force present between the body and the surface, and that is actually known as the static friction. Clear? Okay, clear this much. Now, sliding friction, just the same. That is, when you say sliding friction, see, in this case, the body is actually coming up, isn't it? The body is actually sliding down. At that point, also the surface is giving. The surface is actually providing with the friction. But what is the peculiarity of that? The body is sliding, isn't it? The body is sliding. At that moment, also both the object means object and the surfaces are in contact. But the problem is that these both are not getting enough time to stuck into means to get interlocked. That means the time between these two, the time between these two be in contact with each other is very less. That means sliding friction is very less. That's why when we accelerate a motion, that means when we put an object into a motion, then we can easily sustain that motion by applying a very little amount of force. But initially, the force which we apply is greater. That is, it's very difficult to move a body from rest to motion, but it is not that much difficult to make it sustain in a state of motion. Why? Because static friction is more than the sliding friction. Is that clear? Is that clear about what you mean by static as well as sliding? Okay, I got a reply from Anne. Adat? Yes. Okay, fine. So let's move into next. This is a very small topic. Now, friction. We said that friction is whenever the surface offers friction, it actually opposes a relative motion between the object and the surface, isn't it? But it does have some, not some, it has some advantages also. You can't imagine a world without friction. We all say that we can't imagine. It is the greatest invention of human mankind is actually wheel. It is said so, wheel and fire. So, same way, we can't live without electricity nowadays, isn't it? At the same time, we can say that we can't live with friction also. We are able to walk through a surface due to friction, because otherwise we will slip, means we will fall down at any moment if friction is not present. Okay, imagine you are able to write notes in your notebook. If there was no friction between the pen and the paper, then it will not stick into the paper. The ink will not stick into the paper, and you won't be able to write. Even you, I'm trying to teach you, I'm trying to write a few things on the board. See, I'm writing it. This is because I'm able to, means I'm using a pen tab or a tab over here, which is providing me the suitable appropriate friction, so that I can use my pen to point something. Okay, so it is very difficult if friction was not there. As well as when your teacher explains something using the board, okay, at that moment also, what happens? Sorry, 1 second. Huh. At that moment also, friction is very necessary, because for that also friction is required. And other than that, if we want to hammer a nail, we have learned a lot regarding the pressure when we learned the sharpness of a nail. But if friction was not there, it will not get fixed to the wall. You can't even tie a knot. Imagine a thread is there, but you can't tie it because there is no friction. How hard we try, it will get, means it will not be in a form of knot, because there is no frictional force which is opposing the motion, so it will continue. Imagine you are driving and you are suddenly applying the brakes. If friction is not there, then that means the vehicle will not stop at all, right? So friction is a necessary evil. That means it has to be there in most of the cases, but there are situations where the friction required is less, or there are situations where friction shows a negative image. For example, you can imagine, means whenever you use a shoes for any year, for example, you are going to school and you do have to buy a shoes for your school, right? So whenever you when you use that for continuous 1 years, and you are using it, so what will happen? At the end of the by the end of the year, the base of the footwear will get worn out. Okay, why? Because due to the frictional force, because the friction can cause tear and wear. Okay, and this can be, it can cause, we can say that, machines also. If you're trying to grind something in the mixer grinder, imagine that you're going to grind something in the mixer and you're switching it off. After some time, if you just switch it off and see the jar from outside, you will see a temperature increase, that heat has come out, isn't it? Why that heat has come out? Heat is liberated there, the jar becomes hot. Why? Because due to the frictional force. Even you can try with your hands itself. If you are going to rub your two hands, now it's rainy season, right? You people have been very, oh, the temperature is too low and you might be shivering. So the, in olden days also, what people used to do, nowadays also, what people do is, they will rub their hands, they will rub with their hands on their shoulders, so that the body gets warmed up. Why it is getting warmed up? Because of the frictional force, because friction produces heat. We are able to light a matchstick with the help of a matchbox due to friction. See, if there were no friction, then we will not be able to light the matchstick. Understood? Yeah. Yeah, the grooves of the tires also gets worn out, as well as the machines. The machines, if it is used for continuously, then what will happen? It will get worn out. So there are, means, you people have seen certain times a grease is being applied to bicycles. Oil change is done. Why all of these things are done? Because in order to reduce the amount of friction, as Gauri said, grooves are added to the tires, as well as grooves, or we can say spikes, or extra are added to the shoes in order to increase friction only. So we will say that the shoes or the footwear has a nice grip, isn't it? You might have heard about the pen, no, cello gripper. That pen actually produces, means that actually gives a lot of grip. Okay, but when it comes to other pens, such as if we take a cello pinpoint or something, you might have noticed that the refill, the nib will have a certain round like structure. That means the friction is different. It's not static friction. When it comes to in the shape of a ball or a spherical shape, the friction over them will be rolling friction, was much less than the other one. That means the sliding friction or the static friction. Understood? So that is the difference. So there are many ways by which we can increase the friction as well as decrease the friction. Okay. Now let's see how we can increase as well as how we can decrease the function. Okay. So to increase the friction, as everybody says, in tires, grooves are actually made. Okay, so that why it is necessary to increase friction by in vehicles tires, because they are running through the roads, isn't it? So there is if enough friction is not there, then the, we will say, no, the vehicle will get skid, right? There is a chance of skidding. Same way, the accidents will be very prone. So it is very necessary to provide grooves to the tires, as well as to our shoes, which are shown in this image. Grooves are there. So this also helps to increase what? This also helps to increase the friction. Now, you might have seen the kabaddi players. They, before they start the game, they take the sand and rub it on the hands. Why are they doing so? Because that will actually increase the friction. Okay, when this you can relate also when you are having the Vadambali race. Our high, sometimes our hands, there's a chance of getting sweat on the hands, isn't it? Means if the hands are wet, then the chance for slipping, it means we can't hold the rope for a long time without slipping. Okay, so at that moment we want to hold it very tight with a greatest grip, right? So what I usually do is, we will take some soil and hold the rope, so that the friction is increased, and it will, we will be able to hold the rope very tightly. Same way, during the kabaddi playing time also, what people do is, they will take the sand and just rub with their hands, so that the friction increases. So it is very easy to hold on, because you know what kabaddi is, right? We have to actually oppose the opponents. So it will help that. Okay. Same way, during the power lifting, we use a powder to increase the grip, so that it doesn't go out of the hand. Okay, these are the ways by which we increase the friction. Now, how can we decrease the friction? Friction can be decreased by applying lubricants, isn't it? What do you mean by, yeah, correct. What do you mean by lubricants? Yeah, lubricants example is oil, grease, graphite, all are lubricants. Lubricants are substances which will actually reduce the friction. That's why we regularly apply oils on cycles so that there is so that means sometimes it is very necessary to reduce the friction there. And as for the smooth functioning, it should rotate. No, for that purpose we have to apply the oils. And machines also we use grease. Graphite is also used as a lubricant. Same way, when we play carom board, when we strike the coin has to move very fast, and it should be the means we should be able to collect maximum. I'm sorry, we should be able to collect maximum coins, isn't it? That then only we will win. So how was that possible? Because we means we have to put some powder to make the surface very smooth. Then only the coins will move faster. So in that case, it will help to reduce the friction. Okay, clear? So I hope that what is lubricant and the method of reducing and increasing friction is clear. Now, how does this lubricant reduce friction? For example, imagine that this is a surface. Okay, we are keeping a block over here. Initially, when we started the class, we discussed that friction is caused due to the irregularities of the surface. That means the object is being in contact with the surface. That means they are being interlocked, right? Now, if there is something in between these two surfaces, imagine there is something. Okay, imagine that you are going to buy a burger and the above putty is there, means above one bun is there, below also there is a bun. And in mid region, there will be burger patty, right? Right? So same way, if these both in between these two layers, if we are going to apply some lubricants, then these two portions, that means the upper bun and the lower bun will not be in contact. Same way, these two surfaces will not be in contact. Understood? Same way. So that means the interlocking of the surfaces is not possible. That means they are not in contact, which will actually smoothen the motion. Clear? Is that much clear? Okay, so lubricants also clear. Now, when we discussed, we have said an example of two pens like cello gripper and cello pinpoint, which I'm familiar with. You people will be knowing a lot of pens. So when you are select a pen, it should be very we should be able to write it very smoothly on the paper, right? So if you notice such pens, you will notice that at the end of the nib, there will be slightly spherical thing. That means there will be a slight ball. That's why it is known as a ball pen. Okay, so why there is a ball? Because that structure, that spherical structure will actually reduce the friction. Thus, you can relate whenever you are going to a hypermarket or a supermarket, you will get a trolley. And these trolleys will definitely have wheels on it. Why wheels are used? Because it will reduce the friction. Because when it is rolling down, definitely when it is rolling down, it does not get enough time to be in contact. Okay, so the amount of friction produced by rolling is very less. So we can arrange it in order. Static friction has the greatest value, then comes the sliding friction, and the least value will be for rolling friction. That's why whenever we have to transport a heavy load from one point to the another, we use spherical shape. You can imagine the tires are also in circular shape. That means it is in round shape. Why? Because rolling friction is affecting that. Rolling friction is acting there. Okay, if it was sliding, then we have to apply more force and the tire will actually get worn out due to the frictional force. So rolling friction is comparatively less when compared to that of sliding and static friction. Clear? Okay, only Uddipa, Adit, good. Flora, where are you? Bhavya, okay. Roshan. I want, let me see a few persons who has not. Edu Krishnan Muralidharan. Okay, wait. Okay, fine. Not able to see the chat. 1 second. Q and D. Okay. Oh, Edu, I didn't see your message. Now only I saw your message. Sorry, Okay. Hmm. Now, let me see. Okay, I have not heard Adrich. Am I pronouncing it right, Adrich? Adrich Kumar. Adrich, are you there? Okay, is it clear for you? Itu Krishnan, then I have not heard Kartika. Are you there, Kartika? Sometimes I might miss the messages also. Please forgive me if I'm doing so. I'm trying my best to read out all your messages. Sibya, I'm not seeing it. Sibya, are you there? Did you understand, Sibya? Sibya, Johan? Yeah, Johan. Okay, fine. So all of you has replied to me. Thank you. Now, let's move to the next topic, which is fluid. What do you mean by fluid? Fluid is actually liquids plus gases. We together call it as fluid. Now, we learned that when two surfaces comes in, when two surfaces comes in contact, we learn that there is a frictional force between them, isn't it? Is friction only there for solids? It's not so, right? Because liquids also gives friction, as well as gas also gives out friction. So we can together say that fluids also exert the frictional force. Okay. Okay, so what is fluid? Fluid together, that is liquid and gases together are known as fluids. Now, what do you mean by drag then? The frictional force experienced by fluids are actually known as a drag. Clear this much? The frictional force experienced by fluids are known as drag. Okay, so you might have seen, if so, you might have seen, we can say, for example, aeroplanes need to move through the sky, right? As well as birds has to fly. Fish has to swim through the pond. So if fluids are offering friction, then how all of these are able to move from one place to another without any problem, without any difficulty? Do you know how? Because they are made so, their design is made so. So we can reduce this fluid friction by concentrating on the design of the structure. Okay, means it has to be, yeah, it is very good. Aerodynamic streamline. Okay, I'm glad to hear the word aerodynamic. Okay, because that is something which I really love. Okay, so streamline motion and all. So that means the body has to be designed in such a way that it has to be it is in such a way that the friction experienced by them is very less. So if you examine the image of an aeroplane and that of a bird, you will see it to be similar because both are streamlined structures. That is according, see in the screen, on the screen also you can compare both of them. Both are having a vein-like structure and the tail part is very narrow. So that structure actually reduces the friction. Okay, so each and every particle, if you take the ship also, it is designed in somewhat like the shape of a fish, so that the friction experienced by that is also very less. So we actually learn a lot of things from nature. You might have, I don't know whether you guys have gone through the autobiography of APJ Abdul Kalam. So it is Wings of Fire. The autobiography is known as the Wings of Fire. So in the initial stages, means definitely he was a aspirant of science, but do you know how he was so inspired to learn it? Because he had a teacher who taught the basic principles of aerodynamics by visualizing a bird flying through the, I mean, he actually, if I'm not wrong, the teacher's name is Subramanian or something, if I'm not wrong. So the teacher actually called the students to a beachside, and by standing that, the teacher explained the aerodynamics of a bird. That's how he exclaimed how wonderful science is. Then he became a scientist. who have given immense contribution to the space research. Okay, so whenever you are getting time, you have to read books also. So go and read these books so that it will inspire you also. Okay, so I was very glad I got the word aerodynamics, hence I added this point. So we have to learn. It means there are a lot of things in nature which we learn, which we analyze, and which we implement in different things. Okay, now let's have it two questions. Let's have only two questions. We will just check whether you people have understood it or not. So which of the following produces the least friction? Sliding friction, rolling friction, static friction? None of the above. What happened, Akshat? I got a sorry from you. What happened? For which you said you didn't say the answer, right? Wrong answer I did. Okay. Okay. I got who was that saying Akshat? Akshat is saying option 2. Okay. Oh, you gave me option 3. Okay. I understood. I was confused by the why you are saying a sorry. I couldn't scroll down. Yedu, did you give me in the Q&A session? No. Yedu Krishna, could you give me the answer, dear? It is rolling friction. Yeah. So most of us, Yedu, are you there? Okay. So the friction which has the least value is the rolling friction. After that comes the sliding. Then the great means the most value is for the static friction. Okay. Now one more question. Let's do. What is meant by drag? How can we reduce fluid friction? So the answer is there in the question itself, isn't it? Fluid friction is actually known as drag. How can we reduce fluid friction? Any idea? Yeah, true. Correct. Correct. Okay. Okay. Sorry. The answers were right only. Correct. So we can appropriately design the body so that it experiences a very least friction, which is known as streamlining. So by streamlining, we can actually reduce the friction. Okay, that's all for today. We have completed 2 chapters successfully. Now next Wednesday, we will having the chapter sound. By then the revision will be complete. So please be there for the last class, which is going to be scheduled on Wednesday. Don't miss it because that's the last time which we are going to interact. So I don't want to miss you guys. So please be there. Thank you all. If you have to say, means if you want to say anything, you can just put in the chat box so that I can have a look. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. Bye.